All right, if you are not there yet, if you would go ahead and turn in your notes to 4.5. Today we're going to be talking about solving inequalities using addition and subtraction. Okay, so when you're solving inequalities, you're going to do it the same exact way that you solve equations, okay? The difference is when we had equations, it was an equal sign. Now, whenever we solve inequalities, it simply means you're either going to have a less than or a greater than sign. Do you guys remember what it is whenever you have this little line underneath it? What's that mean, Nasir? Equal to, okay? So less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So the only difference between what we're doing today is we're going to have these symbols instead of an equal sign. First things first, you have to identify the variable. Class, what is a variable? It's a letter. Very good. Then you're going to move the number that's keeping the variable from being alone with an inverse operation. Class, what does inverse mean? Opposite. Very good. So what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. And what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. Very good. Remember the same rule we did before. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. This is the only new idea that we're going to write down in our notes today. And if you would, please write this part at least in red pen. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, you must flip the sign. Okay, so that's the only new idea that I'm really teaching you about today. Okay, so it asks us to solve the inequality and then graph our solution. What I would like you guys to do is write down an example of what an open circle looks like. Remember, an open circle looks like an O. It's just not shaded in. The difference here, the closed circle, is a shaded in circle. So if you would, please put that in your notes. Now we're going to do these problems exactly like we did the equations. First things first, Jocelyn, identify the variable. X. What is not allowing X to be alone, Jocelyn? Okay, subtract by 5. How do I get rid of subtract by 5? Good job. We're going to use an inverse operation, and we will add by 5 on both sides. The negative 5 and the positive 5. Tacoby, what happens to that?
It becomes
Okay, very good. It cancels out, so it's going to be a 0. On the left side, as you can see, all I am left with over there is an X. Now, here's the difference. Beforehand, I told you to take that equal sign and drop it straight down. This is not an equal sign. Guys, what sign is that? It is less than, okay? So I'm going to bring my less than sign down. Now let's focus over here on the right side. This is going back to chapter 1. Same sign or different sign? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract and take. Class, what's negative 3 plus 5? It is 2, okay? Because we took the sign of the larger number, and that was a positive. Any questions on how we did that? All right, Reagan Stevens, from last week we learned we are going to make a graph, which is like a number line. How many numbers do we put on our number line? MJ, can you help him? 3, very good. Okay, so we're going to put 1, 2, 3. Jace, do you know what number is going to go in the middle? The 2. When you look up here at your answer, it's whatever number you found there. That's going to go in the middle. Maddie, what is 1 less than 2? No, what's 1 number less than 2? Jocelyn? 1. Maddie, what's 1 number bigger than 2? 3, very good. Now let's talk about whether it's an open or a closed circle. Remember, this up here tells us when we need an open and a closed circle. Who could tell me if it's open or closed? Jace. It is open, okay? How can you tell it's an open circle? It doesn't have the equal sign underneath it. So basically what that means is I could not put a 2 up here in my solution and make it truthful. Is this true, guys? 2 is less than 2. No, it is not, okay? So that's why it's an open circle, because it's saying this 2 is not allowed to be an answer. It's either everything is going to be less than it or everything's going to be greater than it. According to my answer, it says all solutions are less than 2. Now, Sarah, which way should my arrow go? If everything's going to be less than 2. Go to the left. Very good. So everyone take your pencil and you're going to draw an arrow to the left. If you remember, we talked about this before. This looks like a less than symbol, and this is a less than symbol. So that's a good way to double check that you did it correctly. Moving on to problem B. Ellie, what is the variable? Y. What is not allowing Y to be alone? Okay, how do I get rid of subtract by 3.8? Add by 3.8. We're going to do that to both sides to be fair. Now we're just working down. The first thing I would love for you to do is to take whatever this symbol is and you're going to drop it down just like we did with our equal sign. Okay, so guys, read to me. What does this symbol say? Okay, everybody read that to me. Less than or equal to. Very good. Jonathan, what happens to this negative 3.8 and positive 3.8? It cancels out. It equals 0. A number and its opposite equals 0, and all that's left is the y. So we're going to drop down the y. Now we're going to move over here to the right. All right, guys, 1.7 plus 3.8. What's that answer? 5.5. Okay, it is a calculator chapter. You are allowed to use your calculators if you want, but you can also just do it there on the paper. It also asks us to graph it, so I'm going to write down on my graph. Jacoby, what number should go in the middle?
The 5.5.
Very good. All right, 1 less than 5.5 would be 4.5. Ellie, what would be 1 bigger than 5.5? 6.5. Maddie, is this going to be an open or a closed circle? Closed circle, how can you tell? There's an equal sign, okay? So what that says is 5.5 could be a solution. If I wanted to plug this in right here, would this make sense, class? 5.5 is less than or equal to 5.5. Does that make sense? Yes, so that's why we have a closed-in circle. Luke, it tells us here in the answer, all solutions are less than or equal to 5.5. If everything is less than 5.5, should it go to the left on the number line or to the right? To the left, very good. Now, over here you can see we put the arrow directly on the line. If you want to, you can take this arrow and just make it kind of swoop up like this. This still tells me all solutions are less than or equal to 5.5. Now that I'm looking at problem C, I can see it looks a little bit different than problems A and B. Can someone tell me what's different about this? Jonathan, what looks different about it? No? Jace, can you help him? The variable is not first. We always want our variable to be the left of the sign, whether it's the equal sign or the inequality sign. So I want you to take your red pens and draw an arrow like this. What we're going to do right now is we are going to switch the order there. The x plus 14 will now be on the left side, and the 13 will now be on the right side. Now, if I switched those things on opposite sides of the inequality symbol, guess what I need to do with the inequality symbol? I need to flip it also, okay? So instead of it saying less than or equal to, what do you think it's going to say? Greater than or equal to. So now this looks like a normal problem. X plus 14 is greater than or equal to 13. MJ, what should I do? Good job. We're going to minus 14 on both sides. MJ, keep going. Tell us what to do.
Cross out 14 and negative 14, negative 14, negative 13, minus 13, which equals negative 1.
Okay, this is negative 1. What else should I do?
Drop the variable down.
Drop the variable down. Anything else?
Bring down the sign.
Bring down the sign. Okay, so remember the way she got her answer. Same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract and take. She took the sign of the larger number, so that's why she has a negative 1. Let's graph this together. Maddie, what number should go in the middle? Negative 1. A lot of times people get tricked up when there are negative numbers there. Okay, so remember, whatever this is, we're going to put that right here. Okay, so let's think about money. If you have negative $1, what would be worse than having negative $1? Negative $2. So that would be a smaller amount of money. What is 1 bigger than negative $1? $0. Okay, so just remember when you have those negatives, it looks like it's going backwards, but as those numbers are getting smaller, they look like they're getting bigger as they grow away from 0. Luke, should this be an open or a closed circle?
A closed circle.
Why is it a closed circle?
Because it's
Because it's equal to, okay? What this is saying is -1 is a solution up here. I could say -1 is greater than or equal to -1. Jace, looking at this, my answer says all solutions are greater than or equal to -1. So which way should my arrow go? It should go to the right, because anytime you see these going to the right, that means greater than. So remember, this could continue to go on and on and on forever. If I get over here, I would end up at like an 8. Would this be true? Could I plug in that 8 is greater than or equal to -1? Yes, that is truthful, okay? And you could plug in any solution that is greater than a -1. Let's go on to the next one. This one we've got fractions. Reagan, what should I do to get that variable by itself? How do I get rid of add by 3/4? -3/4, very good. We're going to do that on both sides. So now I have right here positive 3/4 and negative 3/4. Those are opposites, so they can cancel out. I'm left with x is greater than. Now, how would I do this over here? Who can help me with that? What do I need to find? Michaela?
You have to have the same denominator.
I do need a common denominator. What do you think my common denominator is going to be?
4.
A 4. So I've got to multiply a number right here to get 4. What number would that be, Michaela? 2. Okay, we're going to multiply the bottom and the top. So Michaela, if you multiply this together, what do you get?
22 over 4.
Very good. 22 over 4. I'm just going to write it to the right over here. 22/4, and we are subtracting 3/4. What is 22/4 minus 3/4? Ellie? 19/4 is correct. A lot of times people will just tell me 19, but since I'm subtracting fourths, make sure you keep that denominator there. Once again, I'm going to go back to the original problem. In the original problem, you can see that I did give you an improper fraction, 11/2, which means I'm giving you permission to keep your answer as an improper fraction, 19 over 4. So let's go ahead and graph this. Nasir, what number will go in the middle? 19/4. Class, what's one smaller than 19/4? 18/4. What's one bigger than 19/4? 20/4. Now, just to give you an idea of what kind of numbers we're talking about, guys, what is equivalent to 20/4? What is it? 5. How'd you figure that out? 20 divided by 4. Remember, a fraction bar means divide. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. So 20/4 means 5. Okay? Let's move on to Kobe. Will this be an open or a closed circle?
it'll be an open circle.
Open circle, okay? So once again, that's telling me I cannot take this 19/4 and plug it in up here. 19/4 is not greater than 19/4. So it's an open circle because it's saying that is not one of our solutions. Jonathan, are all solutions less than 19/4 or greater than 19/4? Look at this. What does it tell me? It says greater than. So which direction should my arrow go? To the left or the right? To the right. Very good. Because everything to the right is always greater than. Let's look at this. If I'm shading in all of these numbers, that means 20/4 could be plugged in. Would this be a true statement if I plugged it in? 20 over 4 is greater than 19 over 4. Is that true? Yes or no? Yes, it is. So that's how you know you did do it correct. Remember, another way that I taught you is, look at this. This symbol is a greater than. Your arrow should look the same and be a greater than symbol. Okay, that's a way to check your work. All right, if you would, go ahead and turn to the next page. And it says, write an inequality that would represent this graph. Remember, you're always going to start with a variable, and then you're going to put a number, and then you're going to put an inequality symbol. Greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. I want you to try that on your own. Once again, you just need a variable, a number, and an inequality symbol. First things first, let's put our variable. Jacoby, what variable do we put?
X.
X, very good. Maddie, next thing, we always put our number. What number is the circle on? 2. Those are the 2 easy steps. The hardest part is trying to figure out what the inequality symbol would be, okay? Let's look at this. The arrow is going this way. Are all of those numbers greater than 2, or are all of those numbers less than 2? They are greater than. That means your sign has to be greater than. Now the hardest part is trying to figure out, is this an open or a closed circle? Guys, what is that?
Closed.
That's a closed circle. That means your answer can be 2. If your answer can be 2, do I need to put the equal sign?
Yes.
Yes, so I'm just going to put one little line. The correct answer is X, or all solutions are greater than or equal to 2. Any questions? Okay, so once again, you can see, look, it's shaded over the number 5. Could I plug in a 5 right here, and would this be truthful? 5 is greater than or equal to 2. Is that true? Yes, so that's a good indication to know you did it correct. Another one, look at this right here. You can see the arrow looks like this, and this arrow looks the same way. All right, let's look at this modeling real life problem. To become an astronaut pilot for NASA, a person can be no taller than 6.25 feet. Your friend is 5 feet 9 inches tall. How much can your friend grow and still meet the requirement? Now, the first thing I want us to look at is we can see it says your friend is 5 feet 9 inches tall. I want us to go ahead and turn that into a decimal. Does anyone know what 5 feet 9 inches tall would be as a decimal? What do you think, Luke?
5.9.
A lot of people think it's 5.9, but that 0.9 would have to be if it was out of 100, and it's not out of 100, okay? Let's think about this. How many inches are in a foot? 12. So I want you to write this down. 5 feet 9 inches. If I were to try to turn this into a decimal, that would be 5 and 9/12 feet. Does that part make sense? Because it's out of how many inches? Once again, I'm trying to turn my inches into feet. So there are 12 inches in a foot, so it's 9 out of 12 feet. Can that be reduced at all, 9/12?
Yeah.
What would it be reduced to? 3/4. Draw an arrow. That means the same thing as 5 and 3/4 feet. Now, I don't want this as a mixed number. Instead, I would like a whole number with a decimal. Does anyone know what 3/4 always equals as a decimal? Abby, what is it? 0.75. Everyone draw the arrow over. This means 5.75 feet. Now, some of you might be saying, how did she figure out that 3/4 equals 0.75? If you don't have that memorized, which really this is a decimal that should be memorized, take your calculators and I want you to put this in your calculator. What does a fraction bar mean? What's it mean? Division. It means 3 divided by 4. Put that in your calculator. You could write it out on your paper, 3 divided by 4, or just stick it in the calculator. Okay, when you put that in there, you will see that it does equal 0.75, all right? So if you would, draw a little cloud around this. This is just a small piece of what we need to do this problem, okay? All right, so now what it's asking us is to come up with a verbal model. Whenever we have verbal models, we're going to start with what it gives us at the beginning. So write this down for me, please. We're going to start with the current height. Remember, all a verbal model means is we're using words to describe what we're doing. Now, your friend is 5 feet 9 inches. Do they have any room to grow before they reach that height limit? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, so if they can grow, that means we can add some extra height, all right? So we can add, and then I want you to write this, the amount that your friend can grow. We don't know yet how much your friend is allowed to grow, but we know your friend is allowed to grow some before they reach, over here I want you to write, their height limit. Now we've got to come up with an inequality symbol that makes sense, okay? Is your friend allowed to be exactly what the height limit is? Could they be exactly 6.25 feet and still be allowed to go into space?
Yes.
Yes. So that means we need that little equal sign on our inequality, okay? So I'm going to put a little line there for the equal sign. Now I want you to take your red pens and I want you to underline where it says no taller than 6.25 feet. I want you to put a T in here where it says no taller than. I want you to say not taller than. They cannot be taller than that height limit. So that means they cannot be greater than the height limit. If they cannot be greater than, what do they have to be? They have to be less than. So our symbol is going to be less than or equal to the height limit. Now that we have our verbal model, directly underneath, we're going to start plugging some things in. Jace, what is the current height of your friend? 5 feet 9 inches. Now, how much did we discover 5 feet 9 inches means whenever it is a decimal? 5.75 feet. So everybody plug in directly underneath that 5.75 feet. Drop down your plus sign. Do we know how much your friend can grow yet? No, it's a mystery amount. So for me, I'm going to put M for mystery, but I don't care what variable you put. You could put anything. Some people want to put a G for grow. Some people want to put H for height. It doesn't matter what variable you put, okay? Then we're going to drop down our symbol, less than or equal to, and the height limit. Abby, do we know what the height limit is? Like how tall they're allowed to be? What is it? 6.25 feet. So everybody write that down. Now you can see we do have a modeling real life problem here that looks very similar to the problems we've been doing today. Our goal, as always, is to get the variable by itself. Regan, what do I have to do to get that variable by itself? How do I get rid of that 5.75? Okay, so here's the deal. In front of every single thing, there is an imaginary plus sign. So how do I get rid of add by 5.75? Subtract by. Okay, so we're going to subtract by 5.75 on both sides. Now this means both sides of that inequality symbol. Okay, so if you're thinking about it, this is the middle. I'm trying to get the M alone on the left side, which means I have to add or subtract 5.75 on that right side. Okay, on the left side, this will cancel out, and I'm left just with M. I'm going to drop down my inequality symbol directly below it. Now, I want you guys to figure out what this answer would be. All right, class, what's the answer?
0.5 feet.
Okay, it says 0.50, but you can just put 0.5 and then feet. So this answer says all solutions are less than or equal to 0.5 feet. Could your friend grow exactly 0.5 feet? Yes, there's an equal to sign. Could your friend grow 0.1 feet? Yes, they would still be under the limit. But could they grow 0.6 feet? No. If they did that, it would put them over the top and they would be too tall to be an astronaut pilot for NASA. All right, we've got a think, pair, share problem. What I'd like you guys to do is go ahead and try to do problem 1 on your own. All right, as I walked around, I saw a lot of good, but I saw a lot of little mistakes. So first things first, Ellie, what do I need to do? Add 6 to both sides. I want you to go way back to the beginning of time. Do I have the same sign or different sign? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract, and take the sign of the larger number. So what is -7 plus 6, class? -1. If you do not have that, please erase it and fix it. Now we've got our graph. We want 3 numbers on it. -1 goes in the middle. Think about money. This is where a lot of people messed up. What would be 1 bigger than having -$1? 0 would be better than -1. -1 means you owe somebody something. So 0 would be bigger. What would be 1 worse or 1 smaller than -$1? -$2, because that's less money. Okay? Up here it says that all solutions are greater than -1. Could it be exactly -1? No. So is this an open or a closed circle? Open circle tells us it cannot be a -1. And now it says all solutions are greater than -1. Which way is greater than -1? To the right or to the left?
Right.
To the right. Raise your hand if yours looked just like that. If it did not, that's okay. Erase it and fix it. I want you guys to try to do problem 2 on your own. How many of you found somebody else who had a similar answer to you? Okay, so on both sides, what do I have to do? Subtract 3. A lot of people messed up on this part. Guys, do I have the same sign or a different sign? Same sign. Add and keep. Add the numbers, keep the sign. What do you get? -4. Good job. If you don't have that, just erase it and fix it. Then I've got my number line. -4 goes in the middle. What goes to the left? -5. What goes to the right? Open or close circle? Correct, because -4 could be a solution. Now listen, sometimes people are having a hard time with the number line. If that's you, notice up here what I'm writing. I am writing myself a little number line. If that's helpful to you on a quiz or a test or a homework assignment, do that. Then you can have a visual of where your numbers should be going, okay? So as you said, it is going to be a closed circle because I could plug in -4 is less than or equal to -4. Once again, all solutions are less than. So should my arrow go to the left or to the right?
Left.
It should go to the left. And that is correct. Any questions on that? How many of you would say that you got that one correct on your own? Fantastic. I hope after we've done a few examples that this is starting to become just a little bit easier for you, okay? I want to do a quick review before I allow you to look at your homework, okay? What does 5 next to a y mean, class? Multiply. That means 5 times y. So what does 2m mean? 2 times m. What does 8r mean?
8 times.
So on your homework tonight, you're going to have something that says this. A number n times 4. How will you write a number n times 4? Reagan.
4 and an n.
4 with an n next to it. This means 4 times n, all right? Tonight on your homework, you're going to have to know or remember how to do something like that, all right? So tonight's homework is on big ideas. You have 8 problems, so please make sure you write down the original problems, show your work, box in your answer, and then submit your answers on big ideas.